Welcome friends to Farm Fresh Designs 59. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I appreciate all of your support. So today I'm making some new items for my craft room. I just like to look at pretty things when I'm crafting. Now this is an old sewing machine little drawer that I thrifted quite some time ago. And I initially spray painted it with a Rust-Oleum paint, and the color is called Blush Pink. But it had that shiny finish to it, and I was actually able to order some of that same paint in a can online. They didn't carry it in any of the stores. So I give it several good coats. But also, before I did that, I put some of that Dixie Belle Boss on it to go ahead and cover or block any stains that might bleed through on that old box. And then I painted it. So what I'm using now is the IOD mold, and it's called the Acanthus mold. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right or not. But when I do my molding, I put my cornstarch in it, and I use DOS air dry clay. And then I just push it to the sides and run over it with a little credit card to make it flat on the back. And then I also am using the IOD Cameo mold. Once I get them all made and put out, then I use the Tight Bond Thick and Quick to put on the back. And I like to use a silicone stick because, well, I don't like glue on my fingers. It just drives me crazy. So I've already marked a little teeny spot with a pencil in the middle so it will match up good. And I put the Cameo in the middle and those two little swirly pieces on the side. And I just leave it sitting like that for quite some time, because if I tried to turn it the other way, those molds might slide down. Now, if I did decide to do that, you could put a little bit of painter's tape on them to hold them, but I'm not in any hurry, so I just let them sit for a while. I'm also one of those people who like to paint when the molds have set up just a little bit, because I really do think it helps with the cracking. But I use a very, very soft bristle brush, and I'm just super careful not to mess up any of the details. And then, if I need to go back later, then I can, because sometimes you do miss a few little spots. But I just go ahead and paint the whole piece pink. Now, I want to make some little feet for this box, but you know me, if you've watched my channel before, I like to do things that are pretty non-traditional. And so here we go. This is the IOD Baubles mold, and I'm going to make some little feet for my box. But on one of the baubles, or actually two of the baubles, I haven't decided which one I'm going to use, I take some hot glue, and where I need that mold to stop, I put several rows of little hot glue across where I want it to stop, so that when I pour my resin in it, then it won't, bleed into the rest of the mold and won't waste it. So it stops where that hot glue is. And I use the Amazing Casting Resin, which is a 1-to-1 ratio. And it's part A, that is clear, part B is yellow, and when you stir it, it turns kind of cloudy, and then it turns clear. You pour it in your molds, and it sets up in about 10 minutes. And this is the one that I've decided to use after all. Now, when I am mixing my resin, I always have extra, so I always have like little pieces that I want to, that I know I will make later, so I have those molds set to the side. So I go through making 4 of these little legs, and on the back side, on the bottom side of this box, that's where I'm going to start putting them. And I use my Tight Bond Thick and Quick, and those little wood blocks come from the Dollar Tree. So I'm gluing those down to kind of hold it from behind, and then I just push that little resin mold right up to the edge of that box, and I let it set up overnight so that those little molds don't move. And then once they're dry, then I go and I paint them with that Rust-Oleum blush pink as well. Now, I did notice that one of them was a little bit loose after the end, so I put hot glue all around them just to give that extra protection. Now, on the other side, I'm going to be putting some clay molds with DOS air dry clay, and it's the Zuri mold, and I believe it's called Elegant Crosses. It's actually a mold that a sweet viewer sent to me a while back, and I just love it. I put the larger cross in the middle, and then the two crosses on the side are the same cross pattern, but they're just a little bit smaller, and they represent the three crosses on Calvary's Hill when Christ was died on the cross. And so I put those three on that side, and then I go back once it's set up after a little bit, and I paint those as well. Once everything is all dry, then I go back in with Dixie Belle white wax, and I only put it on the molds. I don't go around and put it all around the edges. I just want those molds to be accentuated. I didn't want to use any dark wax, and I didn't really want any gold gilding wax, which if you've watched my channel before, you know I like that a lot. But this time, I just wanted it to be really subtle. And I just love the way that they turned out. And this will be in my craft room, just holding some of the supplies that I normally use. And I'd like to say excuse me for my voice. I am on my almost 4th week of being sick, and it is really difficult to talk these days. So as I'm doing this video, I've got a cough drop in my mouth, and I've got my hot tea right beside me. So I apologize for my just really scratchy voice. But I just love the way this piece turned out. And it's really old, and I just love it because I like to sew. I like pink. I like anything that's real girly, and my faith is very important to me. And so sometimes when you see it in my videos, you may see it with the Cameo on one side, and then some days you may see it with the crosses on the other side. So just kind of depends on what mood I'm in for the day. And here's how it turned out, and I love it. And I like using molds in, sort of non-traditional ways. I know that there are people that have made the sewing boxes before and put wooden feet on it or spindles, and that's a great idea. And honestly, I thought about doing that, but I felt like I should stick true to what I like to do, is to use those molds in a different sort of way. So what do you think? Do you just love it? And those are my 3 really old Bibles. The old white one was my Bible when I was younger, and then the little teeny one was my New Testament that I received when I was a baby. So if you're enjoying the video today, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel if you're not part of my family already. Now, my next piece is could be something like an office supply, but this is an IKEA file folder that I thrifted a while back. I actually bought 2 of them, and they're a really hard plastic, and so I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it when I first started it, so I spray painted it with a white because I wanted to make sure to get rid of that clear finish to it. And then I ended up going back with Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint and painting the outside a couple good coats. And I wasn't really sure if I was going to put a transfer or what. So I just tried to make sure that it was really protected, and that if I decided to use a transfer, it wouldn't pull up. And I also painted the inside because I'll be putting my file folders in that. Now, to decorate just one side of it, I use the IOD Frames 2 mold, and I use the Swags mold. And I will tell you one thing that I regret. The mold, or the Swags mold that I used, was the one that had little roses. and I didn't do the entire swag, and so I sort of had to piece it just a little bit. But I knew that I wanted to put something in between it. I just wasn't really sure. And I put that frames mold right in the center, and I glued that down with tight bond glue. And now what I'm using is the IOD Jingle mold, which is something that came out at Christmas, but in that mold, it has like a little bow. So once again, with all my molds, I put cornstarch in, and then I put my clay in, and I push it down with my fingers, and then I run just over it with an old credit card and get it all finished, and then I go ahead and paint that with the Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. And that was when I decided to decoupage like a little picture of it. And it's a little Victorian woman who has this really beautiful hat that has florals on it. And so I tore the edges to kind of get it to where I needed it to be. And I'm just decoupaging it down to the center of that frames mold. Now that frames mold has sat on there for a couple days before I actually decided to do this. But I still tried to be really careful. Then once all of this is dry, then I go back in with gold gilding wax, and then I start brushing it on pretty heavy. And then I realize that there's a couple little pieces within that frame that I need to kind of cut out. So I'm using my X-Acto knife. And I decide to go ahead and cut it out right then so that I could make sure that just in case I cut just a little bit extra, I could cover it up with that gold gilding wax. But the reason that I chose this woman with the hat is because I actually like to wear hats, especially in the wintertime. I don't wear them so much as I used to, but when I'm outside, I really like to just wear just like beautiful, like wool or felt hats, when I'm going to be out in the weather. So that's why I chose this one, because I just think women who wear hats are so beautiful. And here's my final piece. And I'm just going to be using that with my file folders. And within my file folders, I may have stencils, or I may have some decoupage paper, or maybe some transfers that I know that I want to use. And I just like to kind of keep them in a ready spot. And it's just the ones that I know that are kind of upcoming in future videos. But it's a great piece to have. Now this next piece, it could have been used for several different things. I've used one in a previous video and it was much larger, but this one is the smaller one, and what I'm going to use it for is to put my scissors in. So I've painted it with Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint, and once I get it all painted, then I spray it with the clear coat, which is extremely important if you're going to put a transfer on it. And I'm using the Timeless Designs transfer, and it's called French Market Peonies, and I love it. I just think this is so pretty, and this is a transfer set that I've used many, many times because I just love the colors in it, and it's something you can find on Amazon, and I'll make sure to share the link. And then I choose the piece that has a little watering can that has flowers in it. Now I'm just taking just scraps of lace and ribbon, and then at the end I use some pink eyelash ribbon just to kind of give it the little extra fluff at the end. And I've got a ribbon right down the middle, and I just tie them all up, and I'm just going to make my own little version of a floppy bow. But it's just little scraps of lace that I have from here and there. But I love that eyelash lace, and I like to use it especially at Christmas time. I think it's just beautiful, and you can find it at Hobby Lobby and on Amazon. So once I get it all tied up, then I just glue it up at the top with some hot glue, and then I put like a little rhinestone button right in the center just to kind of glam it up just a little bit. But what do you think? It's a really sweet piece. You could also have this in your kitchen, and you could have some of the longer matches in it. But it's just girly girl, and it's just a good place for me to have my scissors close by. So my next piece is short and sweet. It's just a little picture that I thrifted, and this is another small transfer from that French Market Peonies Timeless Design Set, and it's just like a little bucket that's got some pink flowers in it. And I love all of the designs in this transfer set. Timeless Designs has some gorgeous transfer sets, and they're definitely worth looking into, and they only sell them on Amazon. But because this is a rounded piece, then I make a couple little cuts here and there just to allow for it going around a rounder surface. Now, before I did do this, I did wash it really well, just to make sure that I didn't have any residue on it. And then once it's all finished, then I just put just a couple little light coats of sealer on it, just to kind of protect it a little bit. And that's all I do. Now, my last little piece that I'm going to show you with the little picture at the end is the can of my cornstarch that I use. It's been sitting on my counter, and I just don't like it. And so I decided that I was just going to paint it. So I guess I could have taken the paper off of it, but I didn't think about that. I was just ready to just get it painted. So I painted it black so it would cover up all those designs. And then because I ended up having to paint it with many coats of pink, I realized I should have just tore the paper off. And I painted it with that same Rust-Oleum blush pink. And then this also comes from the IOD Cameo mold. And I just put like a little cameo on it. And I just put it right in the center. And I paint it with pink as well. And once it's all dry and set up, then I put some white wax on it. And then I'm done. I could have gone to a little bit more trouble, maybe put some more molds on it, but I like it just the way it is. And so these two pieces are inexpensive, and with my cornstarch, it is certainly a cheap little canister. And so I'm going to put my cornstarch back in it with my brush that I always use. But this is something you could do for anything. Take just a little cardboard can that you've got that maybe is not going to be put something significant that you put in it, but it's beautiful when it's all painted, and it just looks really elegant. So what do you think? So friends, we are at the end of the video today. I hope I have inspired you to look at things in a different sort of way, and to also inspire you to make your creative space beautiful, something pretty to look at as you're crafting. So I'll be using all of these pieces, and actually when I am doing this voiceover, I've already put them out, and I'm so excited for you to be able to see them when I just have them sitting on my table. And friends, be ready. On Friday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, make sure to turn into my channel, because I will be premiering the IOD Spring Collection. And I'm going to have some special projects for you to see that I'm going to, if the Lord's willing and the creek don't rise, as we say down here in North Carolina, that I'm going to have some special projects for you to see as we premiere those spring collections. So today, once again, if you've enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel and become part of our family. And also, remember the IOD reveal coming Friday, March the 15th. And then on Saturday, I'm going to be part of a special sunflower showcase put on by Decoupage Central. And so make sure to watch and see all of these creative ladies prepare projects with sunflowers. So I hope to see you then. Have a great week.